An AEW star has been pulled from television. We have the latest update on Vince McMahon's potential role within WWE Creative. And did CM Punk pressure Tony Khan into a title reign? Stay tuned for the news. Yes, as I mentioned there in the headlines, an AEW star has been pulled from TV seemingly. So, it's Rebel, Sam. It's Rebel.
Which she's been off screen for quite some time now.
Yeah, definitely. At this point, as we'll get into as well at this point, obviously, because we see Hayter and Britt Baker take more of, I guess, a babyface role in this whole storyline with Saraya and Tony Storm. Anyway, let's get to it. So Rebel has been absent from AEW TV for quite some time now. Despite being involved at one point, obviously she was a huge part of the stuff with Britt Baker.
Yeah, she was just right in there, right among it, wasn't she?
She absolutely was when Britt Baker was the AEW Women's Champion. She took some time off to rehab a knee injury in the summer of 2021 and hasn't really been featured so much since. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter is now reporting that Rebel is no longer being used by the company, saying, "We were told that with Baker and Hayter as babyfaces now, that it was felt she didn't work as part of that act at this point in time now. However, she did work a backstage role prior to her on-screen debut, but no word on whether she has returned to this position as of now, but she may have the option it being there if she wants to return to that, so then there's not sort of like any sort of bad blood between the parties and stuff of her just getting scrapped from everything."
I'll say it again, she was just so hateable.
She was.
I think that I don't think her on-screen days are numbered. It just feels very much like, as you said, because there's been sort of a shift.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's less of a, it's not like a personal bad blood thing by any means, by the sounds of it. It just feels more like a, not right now, but down the road maybe. But then if she did come across from a backstage role, there's probably always the potential that she can return into that role, I'd imagine. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, I wonder if, I know like the whole sort of storyline with Saraya and Tony Storm is like, they don't like all these AEW homegrown talents. They're from the other company and they're sort of trying to get one up on these homegrown talents. I'm like, well, I mean, Rebel was on an episode of NXT one time.
I would love that.
Imagine if she just did that.
Can you imagine? Oh,
and that feels
the
like
pettiness of it would be delicious.
That feels like something that wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for Rebel's character either, just for her to kind of like shoehorn herself in there against these people. So yeah, no, I wish nothing but the best for Rebel. I hope she's doing all right.
Sure.
She's just she's like you said, she's a hateable, annoying heel, but in such a good way. Like she portrays it in such a perfect way. However, we're moving on now over to WWE oh my goodness gracious, we've heard a lot of rumblings recently.
Lot of rumour, lot of innuendo, as old Pritchard would put it. But yeah, I think it was mainly the Lesnar-Omos thing that's sort of it's like sort of tripped people's alarms.
Big meaty men slapping meat is certainly something that Vince McMahon likes. Hence why it sort of sparked a bit of speculation as to whether he's been backstage pulling those little puppet strings of Mr. Paul Levesque. So yes, as we said, Brock and Omos is officially announced now, and the match has been subject to a ton of speculation, including from the angle where MVP spit alcohol in Lesnar's face. The disgusting man. COVID's not over yet, everybody. Come on now. With people pointing to this being a sign that Vince, as we said, is back in creative. From an official standpoint, however, from the Wrestling Observer newsletter again, McMahon is not involved directly. So Paul Levesque has said that he does listen to McMahon, and we've heard this on multiple occasions too, but Levesque has also made clear that he has the final say in all of this.
Keeps putting an extra underline under that final sentence every time. I think it's surely impossible. If Vince is back in the company in any capacity, there's no way that Vince is moving office. There's no way that Vince is going to, take an office on the ground floor or something. Like, he's still going to be up there on the floor with Triple H, with everybody else. And he's 100% going to be sitting there going, well, maybe we should do this. So it's less of is Vince kind of pitching stuff to me? I think, of course, he's going to be pitching stuff. It's more what gets through is going to be the interesting thing for me, because that's maybe where the lines cross over between Triple H and Vince a little bit.
I guess obviously all these speculations come from, just Omos and Brock not necessarily being the most exciting prospects on a WrestleMania card.
It certainly kind of feels like a match we would have seen just a couple of years back.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know, but it's one of those things where I think it'll just be denied and denied and denied, and whether or not Vince is going to be more involved in it, or whether Vince is pitching things through, it's still going to have to pass that Triple H filter by the looks of things. So again, it's maybe more of an interesting thing to just chart where their kind of tastes line up a little bit, or it could just be Vince sitting there going like, Paul, like that over and over again until he's like, you can have the match, just leave me alone.
As long as I get, and this is me wishful thinking right here, I guess as long as we get some sort of storyline development maybe from it in terms of stuff with MVP and the Hurt Business,
it's a big featured moment for Omos, and with somebody who's potentially got a very long career ahead of him. It's I'm curious to see how it's going to build, how it's going to go down. I'm maybe not filled with the excitement that I would be for other Mania matches, but just color me curious about the whole thing. I think
it's the intrigue. It's the intrigue from where this has sort of come out of nowhere. But I guess we'll see. Where it goes.
Yeah.
Not so long away. It's nearly WrestleMania time. However, we're moving on, and other rumours and things that have sparked around the wrestling sphere recently regarding one Jay White. So we have an update on Jay White potentially signing with WWE. So Jay White is now officially a free agent. We saw him lose the Loser Leaves New Japan match. Battle of the Valley.
Loser Leaves Japan, and then it was Loser Leaves New Japan.
Yes, with Eddie Kingston, and he lost. He's gone. I'll see you in a bit.
Tatty bye.
Tatty bye, young man. While all the circumstances seem to indicate he's heading to WWE, there's still been no confirmation of that officially. If he is going to WWE, it's not something well known within the company by many, because multiple people who normally know haven't heard his name mentioned. Do you see him going to WWE?
I see it as the best kind of landing point for him. The thing is, I can see him working in AEW as well. It's just sort of like, I think I don't know if it's just because we've heard for so long. Like, it was around the time where it was like Triple H is interested in Roosh, Triple H is interested in, XYZ, Triple H is interested in Jay White. And it's always just kind of been tied to that. The idea that he'd come in and go to NXT is certainly something that's interesting to me, but I would like to see him maybe pop up on the main roster first. Because, look at him. He's a former IWGP heavyweight champ.
Yep.
Like, he's a former leader of Bullet Club. There are a couple of spots you could, throw him into. I don't think it would be the best option, but I guess you could kind of insert him straight away into something like Judgment Day. It depends what they kind of envisage for him, right?
I think there's a lot of potential storyline-wise to be had for, obviously, you've got Finn Balor, you've got Cody, who's been in Bullet Club as well.
You've got Gallows.
You've got so many people. AJ Styles in there as well. Like, you've got so much to have some sort of interwoven
once
story.
They get Kenny in the books, we can just have a Bullet Club Battle Royal.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how sort of Jay White adapts.
It's the Bullet Buddy Battle Royale, because they can't use Bullet Club.
And I think it's really exciting. I think there's a lot of good potential for Jay White in WWE, and a lot of good potential storyline stuff to be had.
But then again, I can see neighborhood bad boy Jay White just working straight, hitting the ground running, working straight away in AEW.
Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely a company with a lot more freedom, I guess, in that respect. But at the same time, it's one of those where they're kind of finding their feet in terms of balancing who's going where on shows and feature time and stuff, aren't they? So
definitely. Well, we're going to move on over to the final story of this news video, and it's an update on if that big old Philly Brooks pressured Tony Khan to put the AEW title on him.
It's certainly a juicy idea, isn't it?
But a juicy idea.
It's really. His name carries a lot of weight. I get.
Well, let me tell you.
It's a weird one.
Let me tell you.
Fill me in, Andrew.
From, again, Wrestling Observer newsletter. So as Farmer's rumour corrections, the story going around that Punk was originally going to lose to Adam Page at last year's Double or Nothing. So he was supposed to lose. He wasn't supposed to pick up the title in that bout. But then there's rumours going around that he pressured Tony Khan to change the finish, and that is apparently not true at all. Punk was always winning that match. And Meltzer says, I had said before the match that if it was me, I'd have Page win the first meeting, then have Punk win the title in Chicago. But Khan wanted the title on Punk months earlier, and that wasn't Punk's doing or pressuring. And I can understand why from Tony Khan's perspective, because I guess at that point he was thinking
biggest name in wrestling,
biggest name, most money coming into the company. If we put the title belt on him, like that just seems like a business decision.
It'll be kind of downplayed as time goes on, I feel, and yeah, there's recency bias, and yeah, it didn't work out, and you know, it's led to a lot of ill feelings and maybe people looking down on this whole thing a little bit more than they were originally looking up and looking forward to it. But it literally was basically the second coming of wrestling Jesus for a little while back there. So I don't see. I just don't see it kind of being one of those situations where you come straight into a company after kind of being away from wrestling for so long and then use that to leverage. But at the same time, it is the world of wrestling. Stranger things have happened, but this does just feel like a big rumor. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm with Dave on this one though. You know, I wish Page would have won that first meeting because I feel like it would have given his title reign, like through no fault of Page's own.
Certainly would have made a lot of headlines.
It would have done. Made a lot of headlines, given Page a little bit of sizzle in his title reign too. Like the matches were good, but the storylines really were a little bit lacking, and maybe to see sort of that build up to the match at Chicago would have been something really special to see.
Punk's one of those talents where I feel like, you know, the immediate reaction would be, oh, you buried him, you brought him in, you buried him. I think it's Punk's just one of those talents where that sort of stuff doesn't stick because you know, he's so captivating on the mic that I feel like it would have been easily kind of expanded a bit. So I can see where the kind of idea comes from.
Yeah, definitely.
But I just think it's a big rumor.
Well, that's it. We've got bloody Dave Meltzer's giving you a load of good stuff, and we've just taken it from Dave and shoved it straight into your ears.
Stop
so I hope you've enjoyed that.
Secrets,
Andrew. Quiet. Dave, shut up. Shut up back there, Dave. No, thank you so much for joining us for News 2. We might even have another one.
Yeah, maybe.
Down the line.
Keep your eyes peeled.
Keep your eyes peeled. Also worth mentioning, it's Revolution Weekend. AEW Revolution Weekend, where me and Adam will be doing the live reacts to the show on Sunday, so come and join us for that. You've already got pitches. You've already got predictions on the channel, so go and watch those. You'll have what happened not long after the show with Jack the Jobber and the WTF moments with Ross as well. But until then,
plenty of content for the weekend.
Plenty of content. But until then, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.